Good day, colleagues. Hope you are keeping well, and welcome to our session today, Writing Journal Manuscripts with AI Agents. Right, hope everybody can hear me and see me at the same time, and my screen is clear before we start. Just confirm that we are set, then we're going to have to roll and go about it. So today ours is going to be a very short one because we need to develop a manuscript, right? A practical demonstration of developing a manuscript. I'm going to introduce to you 3 different types of AI agents, right, that we tried and tested in terms of developing your manuscript ethically and responsibly. Right, so I'm going to take you through a quick PowerPoint presentation so that you can have an idea of the conceptual understanding, right, before we get to the practical steps. So I've left in slides that I'm going to run through quickly, right? I think by 20 past 10, we should be done with the PowerPoint presentation. Then we take the next 20 minutes again to develop the manuscript. And I'm sure it will be done in terms of developing the draft. I want you to emphasize the aspect, the draft manuscript, right? That if you are following through, you're going to have to go and do some verification. You're going to have to do some confidence, claim confidence to just check if everything is fine. But at least you'll be walking away with a draft manuscript, right? 1, even or 2 or 3, right? In the 1 hour that we're going to be together. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. My name is Dr. TP Muringa, available on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you miss one of the sessions that we've done, they're available on my YouTube, right? TP Muringa. You can just check TP Muringa on YouTube. You'll find me there. Right, today is the 6th of June, and we're starting at 10. We're available on Facebook, YouTube Live, and Facebook, right, and here on Teams, right? Don't forget to subscribe when you go to YouTube. Right, so the question every researcher must answer, the 3 key questions that each and every researcher needs to answer is we are now ushered into the age of agentic AI. Remember, those who've attended workshops in February, I did a whole presentation on how the research landscape has changed in the agentic AI in the age of AI, right? So agentic AI, we don't need to basically define it, but it's briefly a more advanced type of generative AI where the autonomy, the platform or the agent does most of the work for you, right? In autonomously, what you simply need to do is to give it a task to do, and it will run through the task. But I have 3 questions that each and every one of us should constantly ask in the process of using agents when they're developing your manuscript. The first one is, are you writing or are you being written for? Right, that's a key question, right? Are you using AI as a tool to think through your scholarship, or have you surrendered authorial responsibility to the system? That's the first question. Then the second question is it assistance or misconduct, right? Now, where does legitimate AI support end and academic dishonesty begin? Most institutions are still struggling and grappling to draw the line. There is no single answer, all right? And the responsibility is on the researcher themselves to say, I think I've crossed the line here, but who make them, who show you demonstrations of where we think, I think, and drawing from other previous research and work that has been done where we think drawing the line is. Then there's also stronger or weaker scholarship. How do we use AI to strengthen arguments, evidence, and analysis without diluting originality and intellectual authorship? So those are the key questions that we need to bear in mind as we develop our manuscript using agentic AI. The three key questions, they are very fundamental, right? So another one is why most AI-assisted manuscripts fail. There's evidence that most AI generated or developed manuscripts, they get rejected. And reviewers do pick that up, that this is an AI generated manuscript. And why is that the question, right? And when AI came, I was also excited. In 2022, 2023, I was so excited. I was generating manuscripts, with AI and trying to get them submitted, and they will be rejected. This is weak. There's no argument. It's fabricated sources, fabricated citations, all those things. Until I took it upon myself to ask myself, like, why are they being rejected, right? So the reason why most AI generated output fails is because of the one-shot prompt trap. The one-shot prompt trap is a prompt like write me a Q1 journal article on women representation in South African media, right? It will produce for you, I'll show you when I do that. It will produce for you a structurally complete but intellectually thin article, right? Or it might be analytically rich but structurally incoherent. You see that you have fabricated citations that they will slip through unchecked, and the theory will feel like it will be distant or ornamental rather than load bearing, and the voice reads as AI, not as a scholar. That's the shortfall of the one shot prompt trap. Using one prompt, you are in a rush, you just punch in, you want to go, just write for me the article, then let's go. Then the article is out, you download, you fine tune, you submit, then you get rejected. But over the years now, I've come to the realization that you need to do a staged approach, and I'm going to demonstrate for you the staged approach, where you begin with developing a blueprint. When you develop a blueprint, then you move on to develop the methodology, then you develop the draft, then you need to review the draft, right? You need to review the draft as though you are a reviewer of a journal, a Q1 journal. So what the staged approach entails is that you begin with what we call the argument architecture before any prose. Here you develop the arguments. You yourself as the researcher, you set the tone by developing the argument. Then from the developing the argument, you move on to data integrity and auditing before drafting. So you need to provide the data, you yourself, to the platform, giving it, say, this is the data that I've collected and the data is located in this folder, and Cloud AI is the best platform that I'll demonstrate for you how to locate your data. Then we have citations honesty built into each prompt. Then the prompts that you need to build in, prompts that do have, speak about citations only so that you can avoid fabricated citations and dishonesty. Then you need to have prompts. Move on to the theory section where you develop a theory integrated with empirical claims. Then now when everything is done, right, when you've passed through the three stages, you move on to the adversarial review surfaces where hidden weaknesses are exposed, right? Do not worry about these terminologies, right? Because I'm going to demonstrate practically all these steps for you on all the platforms that I'm going to introduce for you today, right? So the four stages approach requires four prompts, right? So each stage produces a specific deliverable that feeds the next section. So this is some code, we call it decompositional prompting, right? That is infused with iterative prompting. So what we're simply doing is that we are developing a argument, right? The literature, the themes, the theoretical composition, the contributions, and the outline, right? From that will be your first output. Then we use that output from the first stage to fit into the methodology, right? Then we develop a defensible methodology, the sample table, the coding frame, the data integrity table, right? So the stage 1 and stage 2 will inform stage 3 of drafting, of developing the draft. If you skip stage 1, or if you skip stage 2 or stage 3, right, the draft manuscript that you develop there will be very weak, and chances of it being rejected are very high, right? So, and if you skip stage 4, some weaknesses or some flaws or some blind sides will be carried on to the manuscript, to the final manuscript. So these 4 stages are very important, and you should not skip any one of these stages. And so we're going to do stage 1 to stage 4, but beyond stage 4, you still need to sit down and get your work ready and fine tune that work. Right. So those are the 4 stages that we have. Right. So what does stage 1 entail? Right. Stage 1 entails the process of building the argument architecture. Right. We call it the blueprint prompt. Right. So in stage 1, there are 5 things that you need to do. The first one, you need to develop the argument map. You need to, in that prompt, you need to explain your central claims, your premise, your central tensions, the original solution that your study seeks to address. Then the second prompt talks about the literature themes. Here you need 6 to 8 clusters with 3 or 4 landmark works, but normally you need to draw them from your key research questions. Right, then you need to, in that same prompt, you need to talk about the theoretical positioning. What theory explains, fails to explain, and what the article urges, right? What theories are you going to use in this article? What theories are you going to push? And what theories are you what is the contribution that you foresee happening? Then the deliverable 4, or the stage 4, in that same prompt of developing a blueprint, will be contributing statement. What does your study contribute empirically, theoretically, and methodologically, and disciplinary, and policy and debate? And the last section will be word counts and 4 to 6 contents bullet point per section. Right, so you use asking the platform to, or cloud, or prompt, or ChatGPT, to say, I want this manuscript to be 6,000 to 4,000 words, right? And I want each and every section to have to include A, B, C, D, right? I want it to include these aspects, these debates, because you are speaking from a scholar who has read the work, right? So what you are doing is that you develop the blueprint yourself of how your article should look like at the end. Then the only thing that you delegate to ChatGPT, to cloud, is the writing of what you have already developed in your blueprint. I will show you the blueprint that I've developed, an example, then I'll take you through it before we put it on one of the platforms. So the architecture before prose, we are forcing cloud to commit to an intellectual positioning before generating prose externalities, the article's logic, so you can audit it, right? The theoretical and evidential gap surfaces early, and when they are cheap to fix, not after a full audit. So what this prompt does is that, of developing a blueprint, it actually gives you the opportunity to fix mistakes before they feature in the draft manuscript that you have developed. So what we're saying when we use in cloud, we're saying ask cloud to flag any conceptual weaknesses or risk it sees in the blueprint before you proceed. right? You see, it will be very simple and easy when I'm doing these things practically, right? Then the second stage of developing the methodology and the data integrity prompt, we call it the firewall against fabrication. Here, this is where you guard your study or your manuscript from fabrication of sources, from fabrication of data, from fabrication of anything that you don't want to feature in your study. So we're saying the data integrity audit, it involves 4 categories, right? So before drafting, you need to classify every empirical claim the article will make. For example, you're saying verifiable, you're saying documentable from real sources. Do you have the real sources, public statement, indexed papers, official records, deliverable, produced from data you have actually processed? I'll show you how I've uploaded my data on Google Drive, and we're going to ask Cloud to retrieve that data, then write the manuscript for us drawing from that data. Then requires ethical care, right? We're looking at sensitive material like survivor testimonies, needs anonymization, consent. You need to explain to Claude in your prompt that anonymize people's names, right? Not available. You would have to fabricate, you would have to tell Cloud to stop fabricate or extrapolate data from anywhere, because that's unethical, right? So you need to have to propose a defensible alternative instead. So to say, I don't have data, right? Empirical data that I have, but you need to search for secondary data, but don't fabricate that information for me, right? Then we are at the implementation stage. Here we are saying implementation of a blueprint and methodology. Now we need to develop the full manuscript drafting. We're saying specify before generating the things that you need to specify before generating the total word count. I want it to be 6,000 to 10,000 words. I want to use British English, no M dashes, right? No the American dashes. Using Harvard APH cargo citations. I want to prioritize sources from 2020 to 2026. I want minimum 3 to 5 citations per paragraph. Formal academic voice, no AI hedging, and numbering sections embedded in tables, right? So explicitly forbidden, you need to tell in that prompt that these aspects or these things are completely forbidden in this study or in this manuscript. The first one is, I don't want fabricated authors, journal articles, DOIs, or page numbers. I don't want fabricated statistics, findings, or quotations. I don't want invented legislation, policies, or institutional statements. I hedging phrases. It is not worth noting. I don't want this terminology in my study. It is worth noting ever evolving landscape, right? I don't want overemphasize, underscoring. I don't want this terminology. I don't want to use bullet points with cross section, right? I don't want generic statement that could appear in an article. I don't want filler transition repeat 3 times in a row, right? If uncertain, then you need to tell a Cloud or the agent that if uncertain, flag unverified, and never invent anything in your work, right? So this is the third stage of developing the draft article. Then now let's look at the fourth and final stage, which here is the critical review and refinement. So after you've generated that manuscript that you've generated, right, or after you've generated that manuscript, you need to involve or to invoke a hostile review persona, right? So you need to develop for yourself a prompt, right, that asks Cloud to audit the manuscript against a 8Q1 criteria and to be merciless, right? So there is a concept that I spoke about a few weeks ago, and this concept is called sycophancy, right? And I think it is a week before last week or last week when I was talking about the dangers of AI, right? Sycophancy is a concept where AI tends to agree with you, right? And it is trained to agree with you, right? In this process, what we simply saying is that when you have drafted that manuscript that you have drafted, right, the first draft that you have, you can actually use the same platform to review that platform. And that review should take the persona of a merciless and a professor in a Q1 journal who has published so much work on the same topic that you want to that you're writing up on. So the first aspect that your review should have is that number one, you should say it should ask questions about originality and contribution. The question should be, is the contribution genuinely novel or just application? Right? You should ask that platform to say argument coherence. Does every section advance the central argument? And literature engagement, are contradictions identified, not smoothed over? Then you move on to the theoretical rigor. Is theory loaded bearing or ornamental? Then you move on to the methodological defensibility. Where would a reviewer challenge sample or ethics? And then we move on to evidence quality. Are quotations illustrative, not decorative? And writing quality. Does any passage reads like an AI generated? Then the last one is citations integrity. You need to spot check the reference list, verify every single citations that you have in your work, right? So this will be the last stage, right? But before we get to the practical, but at 10:30, right, to 11 o'clock, we need to talk about drawing the line. What is the ethical versus unethical AI-assisted writing manuscript, right? So the ethical would involve structuring your own argument more clearly, right, with the prompts, then generating outlines, you then refine and on, then critiquing your draft adversarially, then suggesting literature you then verify, then improving sentence level clarity, translating ideas into formal academic register, and flagging weak claims for you to strengthen. This will form the part of academic rigor and ethical way of generating a draft manuscript using AI, right? But let's look at the other side. And what I love to do most is I feel like it's unfair to teach somebody to do something ethically before you demonstrating them the unethical way of doing it, so that they will not know, so that they will know when to cross the line. So in my presentation at 10:30, I'm going to start doing unethical things, right, that most of us do, the quick fixes that we do. I'm going to generate about 4 or 5 manuscripts, right, unethically, right, and you see the weaknesses that are in those manuscripts for you, right? Then when we are done that, we will come back to do the unethical way of generating the same manuscript. So we're saying the unethical will involve submitting AI generated text as your own thinking, you allowing AI to invent citations or data, you're skipping verification of every fact and reference, you're concealing AI use when journal requires disclosure, you're letting AI define your contribution and bypassing peer review feedback through revisions by AI, and treating output as deliverable, not as a draft. So I always say any output that comes from AI should be treated as a draft, right? Anything that comes out from AI should be treated as a draft, not as the final output, because human judgment can never be replaced, right? So verifying references, claims, and evidence. The non-negotiables after you've worked your manuscript on AI is that the 100% of reference manually verified before submissions. Make sure that you verify every single citation using your own self, right, as the verifier, right? Cloud can flag uncertainty. It can not guarantee accuracy. So there's a 4-step verification protocol that journal publishers always say. The first one is Scopus or Web of Science, right? Confirm each cited work existed in an indexed database, right? You need to make sure that you are drawing on from Google Scholar, Web of Science, and Scopus. Then you need to make sure that every DOI must resolve to the claimed paper, no exceptions. Make sure that every DOI is true and accurate. Then the quotations cross-check. Open the sources and verify any quotations appears verbatim. Right, we'll do that. And cross citations audit. Every in-text citations appear in the reference list and vice versa, right? Is that a comment or something, colleagues? Right. Yes, do we have a comment? I see that there's somebody who is unmuted. Are you contributing something? All right. Can you please mute, colleagues? Right. So now we need to maintain authorial voices and contributions, right? So this is very important. And more often than not, when I'm training, I get asked questions that if you remove everything that AI has generated for you or every sentence that is in your manuscript, would your contribution still exist? Right. This is a key question that we need to ask ourselves as researchers. If you remove every AI generated sentence, would your contribution still exist? If the answer or the honest answer is no, then you are not the author of the article. Right. So intellectual ownership, the argument, the research questions, the choice of theory, and the interpretation of evidence, these must originate from the researchers. And evidential ownership, you collected, curated, or critically selected the data. You can defend every claim under review or scrutiny, right? That makes the work or the manuscript belongs to you. Then ethical accountability, you take responsibility for accuracy, attribution, and disclosure. And AI assistance does not transfer accountability. Right. The last thing that we need to talk about, transparency is not optional. AI disclosure is in academic publication. So most publishers now require disclosure of AI assistance. Practice varies, and transparency is the safe default. So what to disclose? Number one, after you've done the manuscript, the draft manuscript, or you're happy with the manuscript, you need to disclose which AI tool that you used. Did you use Claude or ChatGPT? Did you use Genie AI? Did you use ScienceSpace? At which stage, right, it was used, drafting, editing, or reviewing, and what it did not do, data collection and analysis, and how you verified its outputs, right? And the three principles is that in academic writing, when you're using AI, is to disclose, to verify, and own. In disclose, AI used to journals, co-authors, and supervisors. You verify every fact, citations, and quotations independently. And on every claim, you must defend it in peer review, right? From research idea to publications. So this is the framework that I developed for you to develop a manuscript using AI, right? Those of us who would want to have more information about this framework that I've developed, you might need to engage with me so that we can see how we can implement it in your universities and your departments or your postgraduate students, right? So what are we saying is that AI compresses mechanical work. It does not replace scholarly judgment. Plan accordingly, right? So we're not replacing the scholarly judgment. What we're simply replacing with AI is the mechanical work of typing the whole 36-page document, right? And putting all those words together. So we're going to delegate that to the AI, to the platform. But the pre-work is 1 to 2 weeks. Define topic, gather actual data, identify journals, the blueprint, arguments, map themes, the methodology, the drafting full manuscript 1 day. So for me, I will tell you that I've done pre-work in 2 weeks. Right? I've done 2 weeks of pre-work. Then I've done 2 to 3 hours of argument mapping, themes, contribution. Then I've done the methodology, right? 3 to 4 hours. Then today we're going to do the manuscript. So most of the work is done, right? We need 1 or 2 days to review it, then the final check 1 day. So we're saying this process should take you not more than 3 weeks to complete that manuscript, right? But if you already have your data and your arguments and everything, you are left with 1 day or 1 hour or 30 minutes to develop the manuscript. So total active 3 times is 3 to 5 days for the draft worth submitting. Anyone promising faster is selling something else, right? You need 3 to 5 days to work on this, right? But here, because I've done most of the work already, I'm just going to demonstrate the 3 to 5 days that I've spent, and then we demonstrate in 1 day the manuscript that we've done. So this is the blueprint and the framework, right? So live demonstrations from research ideas to publications, ready manuscript. We'll work through each stage in real time, right? So work through the blueprint stage, the stress testing stage, and the adversarial stage, right? So colleagues, publish with confidence in the era of AI. If you remember nothing else, you need to remember these 3 aspects: stage, your prompts, blueprint, the methodology, then draft, then review. 1 short prompt, produce 1 short manuscripts, refuse fabrications, then own your scholarship. Right, this takes us to the end of this presentation, right? The conceptual presentation has come to an end. What we are going to do now, we're going to switch on to the live demonstration of the work that I've done in the past 4 or 5 days. I'm going to complete it today, right, in with you, with everybody else. So while I'm transferring to my platforms that I have, I just want to hear some comments, some questions briefly in 5 minutes. Then we get into our manuscript ready, right? I'm going to open this one for comments and questions. Any comments and any questions, colleagues? Yes, Dr. Mteto.
Yeah, thank you, Doc, for your presentation. Very insightful. There's maybe a point that I probably need you to further explain. The question that you asked in your presentation: if you remove all AI-generated text, will your contribution still remain? Do you mind explaining that a little bit more of that? Because do you mean, for example, for example, if I've been writing, let's say, a problem statement, I sort of develop a prompt after I've done my research gap, and then I sort of try and draft the limits and delimiting the problem statement. And then after that, the AI platform responds to me. I go through it. I note that it is maybe exactly what I want, or maybe there's some changes that I also need to be taken into consideration in developing that problem statement. And then at the end of that process, I sort of agree with the platform that I think this is exactly what I mean by the problem statement that I've was in my mind. So when you say now, if you remove the AI generated text, what do you mean in that context? Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Mtetwa. This is a very honest question and important question. Yeah. So what I mean by, if we remove every AI generated sentence, right, would your contribution still exist? I'm simply saying, would the argument still remain, right? Would the research question still remain? Because those should come from you. Would the theory choice still remain, right? Would the interpretation of data still remain, right? Because these must originate from you. So if we're not saying we have deleted everything that was been done. So the expression is to say, I'm removing things that I think the ideas, right? Because what we call originality is not the sequence of text, right? What we call originality in academic writing is the argument, the research questions, the problem, the theory, and your interpretation of the data, right? So if we remove everything, those things, we're saying that the problem statement should still remain to have come from you. We're saying the argument should still remain to have come from you. the interpretation of evidence should still remain to have come from you, and the data should still remain to have come from you. If those things can remain after we've said we've deleted everything, and if you can still point that this is my data, I came with the data to the party, I came with the argument to the party, I came with the research questions to the party, I came with the problem to the party, I came with the theory to the party, and I came with the data analysis approach to the party, then that work still remains yours, despite the text that we would have deleted. That's what the expression mean, right? Hope this is answered.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a good response. It's not like literally deleting what
Yes.
the platform is actually written, but it's
Yes.
looking at what you or what the AI platform has contributed and what you did not contribute. That's what you remove.
Absolutely.
And then at the end of the day, you sort of think, is this what's remaining? Is it really my ideas, or
Yes.
they belong to the platform? Okay, it's clear. It's clear. It's clear.
Right.
Thanks very much. Thanks for your response.
I'll demonstrate this right away for you. That's the
Sure,
session we're
sure,
getting
sure.
into now.
Thanks very much.
All right, sure, Greg. Thank you. Right. So if there are no other questions, colleagues, we are moving on to the demonstration of, right. So I'm going to start by sharing my entire screen. Right, there's a lot of things you would forgive me. Right, so this is where we are. And I want to, let's start with this one here. Right. All right. Right. So what I'm sharing here is an example of a prompt. Right. I'm trying to have one screen here, one page. Yes, there you go. Right. So I think I'm hoping that this is clear for everybody. Right. This is clear for everybody. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do the 4-stage scaffolded prompt architecture for developing a manuscript. So we're going to do the things that I was explaining to you. Right. So here we have the blueprint. Right. So this is here we want to develop the blueprint for the study. Right. So before we take it to any AI platform, right? So I'm working 5 days in the process of developing my manuscript, right? So I'm saying here, the prompt reads like, you are an internationally recognized professor and Q1 journal author. Before writing any manuscript content, I need you to produce a comprehensive article blueprint that will guide subsequent drafting, right? So colleagues, where you as a researcher find your voice is what we're gonna do now, right? When I was saying, if we remove everything from what ChatGPT has developed, would you still remain, right? Would you still have some information? So I'm starting with the working title, right? If you look here, right, I'm starting with a working title. So I'm saying my working title is media, as usual, media representation of of women politicians in South Africa, right? Then that's the working title, right? Then the field, right? This is a prompt, colleagues. This is what separates unethical from ethical use. I'm developing the article, right? But I'm developing a blueprint of the article. Then I'll delegate the putting all together of this information to cloud or ChatGPT. Then I'm saying the field is media studies, digital feminism, or whatsoever. Then I say the target journal here, right? So I'm going to say I want to a Q1 journal, right? I'm saying feminist media studies. Feminist media studies. The reason why I'm saying the target journal here is because the platform ChatGPT, Cloud, or any other platform would need to follow the guidelines of writing an article from this media, from this journal, right? Then empirical context. I'm saying empirical context. I'm looking at, right? I'm saying South Africa, right? Then the case study is Nkosazana Lamini Zuma, right? Then I'm saying South African politics, right? That's the context. Right. So those who ask themselves, where did you find your voice, or where is the context? I'm already creating my voice in this manuscript that I'm going to develop. So I've given it the title, I've given it the field, I've given it the journal, I've given it the empirical context, South Africa, case studies, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, politics. I might need to add ANC, right? That's the context, right? I might need to add elections. Right, that's the context. Then theoretical framework. Framing theory, the primary theory here is framing theory. I know my framing theory, right? I'm going to say framing theory, right? And other theory is feminist media theories, right? I'm going to say feminist media theories plus feminist media theories, feminist media theories, right? Then I'm also going to say what else? Research methods, right? I'm going to say my research methodology here is a qualitative methodology, right? But it's a content analysis. Content analysis of newspapers, right? That's my data. That's where my data is going to come from. I've already gathered my data, newspapers, right? Then I'm saying discourse analysis, right? Those of us who are familiar with the discourse analysis, this is the methodology that I've put in, right? Or I might say discourse analysis with a combination of framing analysis, right? You get it? Then I'm saying research questions. I need research questions, right? I have 3 research questions that I have, right? The first question would be, right, this is where you as a researcher are coming to the party. You are bringing everything. So I'm going to say, my research question is, how does the media, right, report on women politicians? Women politicians. Then the second question is, what are the frames? What are the frames used put on women politicians? Right. What are the frames used to report on women politicians? Right. That's where we are. What are the frames used to report on women politicians? Then number 3 is data availability. Okay, the question number 3 is, right, how do these frames legitimize or delegitimize women candidates, right? Women candidates, right? So if you are a researcher and if you really know your field, right, you won't struggle because you already know that this is what I want to do. Then data availability, I'm going to say here, This is where things get interesting. I have uploaded my data in my Google Drive. My Google Drive in the folder. Then I put the name of the folder here. My folder is called NDZ. NDZ, right? Or Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, right? Right, colleagues, the reason why I'm doing this, I'm talking about the drive, is that I'll demonstrate for you cloud is an option to work from your drive, right? Then insert target words, right? Standard, I'm saying the standard is Q1 and I want a range of 7,000 to 6,000 words, right? Then required output. The required output, this is I want an argument map, claim one sentence, 3 to 5 supporting premises, central tensions or qualifications. I need the literature review. This is what these are the things that I'm looking for. Identify 6 to 8 thematic clusters, right? For each cluster, list 3 to 4 landmark works that any Q reviewer would expect. This is me who was developing this. These are the things that I'm expecting from my manuscript. Explain how the chosen theoretical framework relates to the empirical problem, right? Number 4, this is my expectations. I need a contribution statement. Articulate 6 contributions, the empirical, theoretical, methodological, disciplinary, section by section outline. I need a section by section outline, right? Then detailed outline of every section that is going to come out. Then I give the constraints. This is where things get interesting. I'm saying do not fabricate citations. Where you are uncertain whether a work exists or is correctly attributed, flag it explicitly. Do not generate the manuscript itself at the first stage. Produce only the blueprint. Format the output as a structured document. I can reiterate, I can iterate. After producing the blueprint, identify any conceptual weaknesses or risk you see in this proposed article and suggest how to address them before drafting begins. Why this works, colleagues, is that the blueprint stage forces cloud or any platform to commit to an intellectual position before generating prose. It externalizes the article's architecture so that I can audit it. And it also surfaces theoretical and evidential gaps early, and when they are cheap to fix rather than after a full draft has been developed, right? So this is the stage 1 of developing the manuscript. What I'm going to do, colleagues, now is that I'm going to copy this prompt, the entirety of this prompt. I'm going to copy it, right? This is my prompt. Then I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to put this prompt here on my, I'm going to put this prompt here on my cloud, right? I'm going to put this prompt here on my cloud. So colleagues, this is cloud. Welcome to cloud. Some of us have used cloud before. Some of us have not used cloud before. Cloud is an agentic AI, right? It does most of the work for you. So the first thing that you do when you get to cloud is you need to create a new page, right? Yeah, there we are. Hey, there we're blogging, right? It has different options here that you can work from. There's Opus 4.8, there's Sonnet, almost capable for ambitious work. If you want to do real stuff that is in-depth, that is depth, you can work with 4.8, which is high, and you see what you do. There is Sonnet 4.6, most efficient for everyday works. Then Haiku 4.5, fastest, quick for answers. If you want something that is quick, and this one is effort, high effort. We are working on a high effort because this is a Q1 journal that we need to develop. But you have more models that are there. There's 4.7, 4.6, 4.3. I choose to work on 4.8, which is high. Right here we have write, we have learn, we've categorized. There is my Google Drive, right? There is here my Google Drive, right? But if we go here, if you click on add, right? When if you go to connectors, right? If you go to connectors, it will give you options to say Google consensus, right? Those of us who are familiar, consensus is a database for studies. It is Google Drive, it is PubMed, and the Google Drive, right? So you can add more connectors, or you can come here and say, I want to manage connectors, right? We have cloud already. Cloud is consensus is connected. We have Google Drive is connected, right? The Google Drive, it has access to all my files. So this is in the Google Drive. This is where all my data is, right? But we are not there, right? What we want to focus on after you've added your connectors here, you've activated consensus, you've activated Google Drive, you've activated PubMed. The reason for these connectors, colleagues, is for you not to have fabricated information, right? So you make a reference to say, I want all my citations or my literature to come from PubMed or Consensus AI. Or you say, my data is coming from Google Drive, and this is the folder where my data is, right? So I'm going to check before I go, right? I want to see indeed if my data is there and available before we start, right? Before we start, I want to check and see my data is there. If my data is already there, I'm coming here to Google Drive, right? Where is my Google Drive? There is my Google Drive, right? I want to check if my data is there. I'm coming here to my drive, all right? This is my drive. I'm going to my drive. I want to check my data is in NDZ, right? I want to see if my data is there. Where is my data? Where is my data? Right. Right. I can't find my data for now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say add here. I'm going to say upload a folder, right? My data is not there. I'm going to upload a folder. This is my USB, right? So my data is available in, where is my data? I'm going to search my data NDZ. Right, there's my data NDZ. Right, this is the folder. This is where my data is open. Right, here's my data. Right, so what I'm going to do, I need to upload all this data. Right, or I can choose to upload the folder itself. Right, NDZ, let's upload the folder. Right, what is the location of this folder? Just to check the location of the folder before I upload it. Right, I'm going to check the folder. Where is the folder? NDZ publication 2024. Right. Just hold on. We need to get the data quickly. We need to get the data. Right. So it's NDZ. We're just going to say NDZ here. Right. Or else I can do this. Right. This is not showing any data. No, it's not in here. Right. The data is in cloud. Right. There is cloud here. Right. There is my data. Right, seem to be missing my data here, but it's somewhere there located in one of these folders. Submission money ethics, NDZ scholarship 2. Right, okay, this one is not opening. Right. Okay, to cut to the chase, I think we're just going to say NDZ here. Okay, I see there is a hand.
Yeah, Doc, I saw as if you have two. Do you have a K drive or a K and I if you go up? Because when you searched, you found it in one of the drives.
Yes.
Go, you check that one. What about the one at the top?
Right.
Are they not different? Yeah.
Right. Let's see NDZ here. That's where my data is. I need to write. Let's find. I need to look at the. Okay. Select. Open. the properties. I need to see the location of this previous data, match submissions, type of folder. All right. Right, it's in one of these, right? But if it doesn't show up here, what we're gonna do is we're going to basically use the one we're just going to copy and paste, right?
Yeah, I think go to match submissions. There's a folder match submissions.
Right, match submissions here. Right. That's the 2022 match submissions, this folder here. Right, this is the folder we need. Open. Right, because what I want to do, I need to upload it as a whole folder, not a single. Right, I'm going to say here copy, right, or drag it. So we can either copy or drag it to the folder right here on. Right, let's open here. Right, so let's create a new folder here. Then we say new folder, and we say NTZ. We create a new folder in our drive. Right, where is NTZ? Okay, the folder is not showing up here. Let's see here. Okay, there's no NDZ here. Okay, there is NDZ. Right, there is NDZ here. With drop files. We need to drag and grab. We need to drag this one here to from the drive itself. Let's see here. The data we need to drop. So we're going to, what we're simply going to do is we're going to drag those files, the data, right, from your we're going to drop the data from right, there is it. So I can drag this one here and drop it here. Right, so there you go. We are loading 66 items in less than 16 minutes, right? So we are set. We have our data coming through, right? Once it's ready. So what I've done is that I've taken the data and I've put it on the Google Drive, right? There you go. Let's just confirm if the data is now there. Right, there is my data, right? This is news articles that I'm going to use here on cloud, right? So the connectors are connected, Google Drive is active, and we know where our data is, right? So now we're taking this prompt here, right? Our prompt, right? Remember we said we have this big prompt that we have, this one here, and we've already mentioned where the data is available and where the data is coming from. So now we say Control V, right? We want to copy our prompt here. See, right, there's our prompt. We've put our prompt here on cloud, right? So this as it is, right? So what we need here, we're just going to develop a blueprint, then we punch enter, right? So we're going to wait a little bit while our cloud is developing. Right now, look here, already we are searching data into the Google Front. So it is connected. It says loaded tools used Google Drive integration, right? So I have a clear picture of your corpus now, roughly 13 unique articles, each duplicated across 2 folders, mostly IOL, Method, Mercury, The Star, Pretoria, News 24. This is my data, and I'm confident because it has already described what my data is. Right, it has already described what my data is. Then it says article blueprint. Then the topic, it has picked it up. Media representation of women politicians in South Africa. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Target journal must be feminist media. It's confirming, right? And not of your data before we begin. I reviewed the NDZ folder. It's communicating with my Google Drive where my data is located, right? Currently duplicate across drive folders. So the 26 file is really 13. It's correcting me that I don't have 26 data units. I actually have 13 data units, right? It's making those corrections for me. And this is where cloud comes in. And this is why I think cloud is a game changer, right? It's communicating with my data source. It says, yeah, source cluster heavily, the independent IO stable, the Mercury, the Pretoria Sunday Times with one Daily Maverick is describing my data. It's saying you have a lopsided data because most of your data is coming from one source, right? Then it says, yeah, temporarily the article bunch around two moments, 2020, 2017 ANC race versus Bosasa Dlamini Zuma, and the 2022 Palapala section of 89 votes plus 55 conference. It's describing my data. Already I'm seeing that this platform knows what we're talking about. It's engaging with my data. And it says implication, a clean qualitative content analysis claim is not defensible at a 13 articles with a skewed sample. This is a qualitative framing discourse study, possibly with light descriptive quantitative quantification. I've built the blueprint on that footing and flagged it as the central methodological risk. We should discuss this before drafting, right? It's telling me that, okay, we are going to proceed with your manuscripts, but already your data that you have as a researcher, this data here, it's not enough to make the claims that you want to make because you only have 13 articles, right? You need at least 60 or 100 articles for you to make this kind of claim. But however, we're just going to proceed, right? The argument gap has been created, right? Central claim one sentence, South African news coverage of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma frames their leadership candidacy through a recurring repertoire of gender frames, proxies, derivatives, agents, scandalization, credibility, and exceptional but defiant womanhood, right? This is the central argument claim. And the strong premises, it gives me premises, I can engage with this, right? But here, this is where it is a game changer. It says there is central tension the article must address. If the same gender tropes can be deployed, both to attack and to defend a woman politicians, then media bias against women is too blunt and analytic. The article must hold together two things that pull apart. Gender demonstrably structures the coverage, yet the corpus is partisan and the bias is entangled with factional politics, so gendered effects cannot be cleanly isolated from political alignment, right? The originality claim reframe gender media bias not as a stable property of text, but as a contested discursive property. Then the literature themes, right? These are the key themes. Now I need to verify this literature before I take it as given, right? The scholars, gender media and framing, Khan is I know this one, these are the leading scholar, but verify. It's telling me verify the text. Cross, this is the leading media scholar, gender scholar. Fox, I know them. Norris, I know them. Chapter cluster. Eitman is the founder of framing theory. Goffman is the founder of framing theory. Gempson is the leading scholar. Rees and Kendi is the leading scholar. Then Van Zuyen is the leading scholar of feminist media studies. Jew is also a media scholar. Tashman is a media scholar. Ho is a scholar of representation. So I'm familiar with all these scholars, right? Then South African media, Weserman is a leading scholar in terms of media. Daniels is a media scholar, but you need to verify them, work on political. Then Daken is also a leading media scholar in South Africa. Then there's Coates, there's all these scholars. I'm familiar with them, but we will need to verify this, right? The theoretical positioning, how framing theory fits. So this is, colleagues, our blueprint, right, that we have, right? This is our blueprint. If we go through it and we are happy, we can actually say, okay, now we have the blueprint, but it says two things would sharpen this fastest before we draft. Confirming whether you can expand, rebalance the corpus, and deciding the digital versus news framing of the subfield. We want to read the full text of a few of the PDFs rather than the snippets. So the 4 frames in 6 are grounded in exact codable example, and to draft the coding frame for a table for the methodology, right? So I'm going to confirm, but before we confirm that, let's proceed for the purposes of demonstration. If you are doing this on your own study, you're gonna need to actually go through this whole engagement. You need to engage with Claude, right? You need to engage with Claude and have a conversation and confirm that, oh, this blueprint that has been developed, is this really what you want? But what I'm happy with is that Claude is already told me that my data is skewed, my data is not so strong, but that's not the question of this day. We're going to proceed anyhow. What I'm going to do, we're going to go back to our second prompt, right? So we have a blueprint that we have, right? Now, after the blueprint, now we move to stage 2, the development of the methodology and data integrity prompt. So this is here, I said, this is the firewall against the fabrication. So we're saying empirical articles fail Q1 review on methodology more often than on theory. The methodology is very important. So this prompt now that we're going to develop, it produces a defensible methodology section and critically surfaces what data you actually have versus what you would need to invent, right? It must come before the drafting stage so that the manuscript is grounded in honest evidential foundation. So now the prompt reads like this: using the blueprint that we develop in stage 1, now produce a detailed methodology specification for the manuscript, right? I'm going to come back. It's going to ask me here, research paradigm, interpretivism, right? If you are a researcher, you know what we're talking about. Interpretivism, right? I'm going to delete here that this study is an interpretivist study. It falls within that paradigm. Then research design, I'm not going to use netography, right? I'm going to use a case study, right? This is a case study because I'm focusing on NDZ. I know what a case study is. I read about the case study. I know what a case study is. I don't need to be asked what a case study is, right? I'm going to delegate the writing, the definition of a case study to Cloud to do that for me. I know that my study should fall within a case study. Then data sources list you actually have. Remember we said NDZ folder, right? Folder in the Google Drive, right? NDZ folder in the Google Drive, right? We said the data is not enough, but I can also choose to say any other articles available online that falls within the study scope, right? But we're gonna need to verify because Cloud has already told us that we have not enough data. So I'm saying use the one that is in the Google Drive, but also refer to the ones that are on your online, right? Within the scope, right? I'm going to give it to say here, retrieve from IOL and News 24 only. News 24 only, right? Setting the parameters. Record I could cite, right? Record I could cite, we're saying 2020 to 2026, right? Then the sample size, I need at least 60. Remember, now we've come back. We need sample frame and sample size. We need 60 articles, news articles, right? Right, in total, right? For us to have a credible data, then analytical software, right? So these softwares are embedded within your cloud itself. So I'm going to say, I need to use NVivo, right? I'm going to use NVivo, right, to do thematic analysis. Then I'm saying here, I'm going to say discourse analysis, critical discourse analysis. Saying critical discourse analysis, then I say ethical approval, right? So my ethical approval statement, I'm saying the study was approved, the DUT ethics committee. Ethics committee, right? It's pending, right? Or you can say it's an unapplicable, then I'll put the ethics number here. Then I say IREC 230567, right? That's the ethics number, right, of my study. It was approved, right? Then I say research positionality statement, brief statement, right? I might choose not to push it anything, but I'm just going to say, all right, let's leave that so that we won't have, we don't want it to be biased towards my thinking, right? So then I say here, required outputs. Methodology section drafts. This is what I'm looking at: standard headings, research paradigm, context, sampling, data analysis, trustworthiness, validity, reliability, ethical limitations of the study, sample formatted table. I want tables to come out, sample size, coding or analytical frame, formatted tables specifying analytical categories, subcodes, sub-themes, indicators. This is me who was developing these things. I was writing these things. So you see the amount of work that I've put to direct the prose or the outlook this manuscript will take. Then I say list every empirical claim the methodology implies the article will make, mark each as verifiable, right, deliverable, derivable, required. For any item marked not available, prose and methodological defense, alternatives such as composite phrases, illustrative exemplar, right? So this is me actually developing the manuscript. What I'm not doing is typing these things on the platform, right? I'm simply saying, when I'm sitting, this is how my manuscript should look like at the end, right? So why is this stage important, right? This stage is integral. It's an integrity firewall. It surfaces what you actually have versus what would have to be invented, right? It avoids cloud to invent information. It converts that distinction into a methodological defensible plan. It also produces the tables that Q1 reviewers accept to see in any empirical article, eliminating one of the most common rounds of reviews, right? So what are we doing? We're copying and pasting the whole prompt, right? Let's take our prompt for the methodology. Remember, we haven't got to the point of developing the manuscript itself. We are setting the groundwork of developing the manuscript. I'm going back to cloud. I'm saying I can confirm the information in the blueprint. I can confirm the information in the blueprint. Let's proceed with the next section below, right? Then I'm saying follow it thoroughly, right? Then we go down, then we copy and paste that prompt, right? This is the prompt that we copy and paste. Now we're using the previous output to feed on the next prompt. So what we have here now, right? What we have is we are developing the methodological framework, and we say for us to develop a methodological framework, what we do is that we need to guard against fabrications. So here is what the outcome is saying. You say, before I write this, one structural point you need to decide on, because it changes how I write the sampling section. You possess 13 unique articles in the folder NDZ, right? You want a final sample of 60, topped up by IOL and News 24 public records 2024 and 2026. That means roughly 47 articles will not be collected, will need to be collected. I cannot manufacture that 47 into existence or site-specific articles I haven't verified. So I'll write the methodology as a protocol you will execute with the sample table showing your real possessed corpus is documented and the reminder is specified to be collected data, right, with explicit retrieval criteria. So it is telling me that it's not going to invent that information, that the data that I said look for in the public record, because it doesn't have access to 2020, 26, right, those information. So it's not going to do that, right? Then here it gives me the methodology draft, right? This is how my methodology would look like. I'm not going to need to go through it. The interpretivism, it has been captured. The single case study, right? The NDZ, it has been captured, right? Then the analytical framework analysis integrated with critical discourse analysis has been captured. I'm happy with that. Then the study context, right? The study set in South Africa post-2020 news environment, right? This needs to be corrected, right? One point of correction that I'm going to correct, right, when the methodology has come through, right? These are the tables that I've asked, right? The data analysis, integrity audit, verifiable, it is correct. So this is the data, right? It's actually looking at my data now. These articles, are they real there, right? The specific clearance, ethical clearance, required confirmation, it cannot confirm that I have ethical clearance until I've updated. So it says required confirmation, right? Then here it says a final corpus of exactly 60 articles not available, right? It is not available as yet. We only have 13, right? It is confirming that, right? Deliverable, a general conditional, verbatim quotations from NDZ and other limited. It is verifiable. We have these. We want to have these verbatim quotations not available, right? From the 47 articles, we're going to correct this one because we're going a bit under ambition. And we are too ambitious, right? Then we say here, one point of correction. The study scope or time frame spans from 2017 to 2025, right? When we looking at the ND Nkosazana political ambitions, right? It spans between that period, right? So as we move to the next stage, this correction must be noted, right? Right. Then I say also, if you can access the web, retrieve other articles, news articles, that falls the study scope that reported on NTZ. Right. So what I'm saying is that one point of correction, the study scope or the time frame spans from 2017 to 2025 when Nkosazana was during her political ambitions, right? That needs to be corrected, right? So as we move forward to the next stage, this correction must be noted. Also, if you can access the web, retrieve other articles, right? News articles that fall within the study scope, right? That reported NDZ, right? And her political ambitions. Right, right. Then, right, so we find, right, we're gonna put it there. Let's go back to our prompt. Right, we need to develop the full manuscript now, right? The third stage. Now here we need to generate a complete publishable quality first draft that implements the blueprint and the methodology specifications. This is the longest and most demanding prompt in the suite. It assumes stage 1 and stage 2 have already been completed, right? So now we're saying, using this blueprint, stage 1 and stage 2, and the methodology specification from stage 2, produce the complete manuscript. Your role is, right, as an internationally recognized professor, all of us now are professors, for a Q1 journal editor and a methodological expert. Your writing must read as the work of an experienced human scholar, not an AI assistant, right? The manuscript parameters, we say it's supposed to be between 6,000 and 10, right? 6,000, 10,000 for a Q1 journal, British English, there's no dashes, there's no whilst, where appropriate, no Oxford commas unless for clarity, right? Harvard, we need to use APA, let's use APA citations type, right? Let's use APA citation type, right? Then here I'm going to add something that is very interesting. I'm saying retrieve literature from PubMed, from PubMed or consensus. Right. This will be a game changer because we're not going to fabricate literature. Then reference period 2020 for sources 2020, 2026 foundational and theoretical can be added. Right. Then we say punctuations, no American dashes, use commas, semicolons or parentheses, voice, it should be formal, academic, no contradictions, no contractions, no AI hedging. For example, it is worth noting that in conclusion, in today's world, ever-evolving landscape, etc., I know how AI writes, so I'm avoiding it from writing like that. Structural requirements, the title should be sophisticated, communicates contribution. I don't want sensationalism. The abstract should have at least 150 words, right? 150 words, right? Background, purpose, methods, findings. Then keywords, I need 6 to 8 keywords, alphabetical or right. Then introduction should have a background, problem, gap, debate, aimed and questions, contribution, the structure. The literary review should be organized by thematic clusters, critical synthesis, the theoretical frameworks integrated, the methodology from stage 2 specification, discussion, theoretical contributions, practical implications, etc., etc. The quality requirements, then I'm saying every section must continuously answer the problem. What is the problem? Why does it matter? Why is it missing in these existing accounts? What new understanding that this study provides? Why is this contribution significant? Demonstrate analytical depth by comparing rather than listing, contrasting positions rather than aggregating, critiquing rather than describing, synthesizing across themes rather than summarizing with them, and identifying tensions, contradictions, debates, gaps, and blind points. Avoid bullet points with prose, generic statements, unsupported claims, repetitive phrasing, and filter transition. Citation integrity. Use only real traceable scholarly work. Prioritize corpus, prioritize Web of Science, ABC. I'm going to put here PubMed, right? I'm going to put here Google Scholar. Google Scholar. Google Scholar, right? If uncertain about citations, right, either flag it explicitly with unverified or replace with a verifiable alternative on the topic. Never invent authors. Very important. Never invent authors, journals, title, page numbers, DOIs, dates, findings, statistics, quotations, legislation, and policies. Empirical integrity. If the blueprint requires presenting verbatim, use data. Do right. Use data provided, right? Follows the stage 2 protocol, composite paraphrases with anonymized codes for private individuals, verifiable verbatims, quotations only for public institutional statements, state the rationale in the methodology, the formatting, number section headings, justified paragraphs with first line identification, tables, clear headers, reference list with hedging, with hanging identification, page numbers, headers, appearing articles. Output, this is the output that I need. Generate the complete manuscript as a single deliverable, downloadable Word document, right, where possible. After producing the manuscript, provide an audit statement confirming, total word count, number of references, any items flagged unverified for me to check, and any sections where my constraints limited the analysis. This prompt assumes that the intellectual background and the methodological work has been done in stage 1 and stage 2, freeing cloud or any other platform to focus on the craft of academic writing. It explicitly forbids the most common failures modes of AI-generated academic prose. It does hedging, generic phrasing, fabricated citations, and structurally weak argumentations. The audit statement at the end forces transparency about uncertainty. So, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, we're going to take the last straw of developing the manuscript and see what is going to come out, right? This is our longest prompt ever, right, to have been developed. This is our prompt. Let's take it to cloud, right? Then we say, cloud, we are back. We have a task for you to do, right? There you go, right? Refer to the prompt attached to develop. the draft, the full manuscript. Right, then I'm saying my name is Dr. TP Muringa, right, from my institutional affiliation. I will just say DUT for now, then whatever, then let's give it a go and see, colleagues, what this platform is going to do for us. If we're going to be having something that is defensible enough, noted on the corrections. Study scope is now 2017 to 2025. So one thing that is important is to read these comments, right? Reading these comments is important because if what you have prompted is not confirmed by cloud, it means cloud is not going to do what you've asked it to do. So you need always to confirm that your prompts are confirmed. Right, then it says the widens the window meaningfully, which actually strengthens the designs. Let me retrieve additional real verifiable articles from public records before writing them, build the manuscript grounded in genuine sources. Excellent retrieval. I found a very useful anchor. There's already a published Q1 adjacent study on Taylor and Francis analyzes exactly IOL and NDZ, which both validates the design and give you a real precise literature to position against, right? So this study here was done by Muringa, right? So it picked up this study, right? It picked up this study. I can open up for you the studies that it identified. You see that Dlamini Zuma says breaches, right? Don't bow down. This article here, meeting in the service of power, right? If I click it, you see that this is Muringa who authored this article. So it identified it and it's going to use it as an anchor to validate everything that we're going to be doing, right? There's another one. So this is our sources that are available online, right? It is adding on our scope of data. It is adding from that online, right? This is a very beautiful platform, right? Excellent. So I have this data, then it's searching the web, 2 more verifiable finds. A January 2026 MDPI systematic review on women in South Africa was found, right? This is again by Muringa. It is found a study by Muringa. This one here, I'll show you, that confirms, right? This study here, this is a study by Muringa again, there's Van Zunen. So it's showing you the literature actually that I'm referring to the literature. It's not making things up. Right, so I'm confident what is this platform is doing for me. I can verify everything, right? Then it says I now have a strong verifiable scholarly base. I have enough to write the manuscript with genuine citations. Let me read the doc's skills before building the Word document, right? I have what I need. The manuscript is long form, scholarly writing with embedded tables, headers, page numbers, and a hanging indented referencing list, which is exactly a Word deliverable. I'll build it with docs.js. Let me write the generator script. Now I'll write the manuscript. Given its length, I'll build the content in a structured generator file. Let me create it in its parts, starting with the prose content, right? This is where we are, colleagues. If you click here, you see what is cooking in the background. The work is being done. The work is being developed. It is cooking, colleagues. My work, I'm waiting, is writing findings now. We are on the findings section, right? Findings number 1 is coming out, right? The literature is being interpreted. The findings are being interpreted, right? Let's sit back and relax and see what our final outcome would look like and if we would be happy. But are we going to be happy? And are we going to take this and submit it to the journal just after it has come, right? Let's see. Let's hold on and see, right? But when we are done with this, what we're going to do, we're going to move to the last stage of verifying and auditing this manuscript and see if it is ready and strong enough for publications. Then we'll do some unethical things that compares and contrast what we have done here with what people are normally doing, right? So while we're waiting for the manuscript to come out, I'm going to switch us to ScienceSpace, right? Another agentic AI platform, right? So ScienceSpace, as you know it, right, it's another interesting platform, right? Let's hope my computer won't struggle, right, with this platform. So, sorry, there's MD, you're unmuted. MD, let's see the full name of MD. Yes, thank you for All right, MD is
So
right. It's Monica, right? It's okay, Monica. Okay, not a problem. Right. So what we have now is we have ScienceBase, right? ScienceBase is another. I'm gonna check quickly if we are coming right with the manuscript. I'll give it 5 minutes only, right? So while we are talking about that, this platform here called ScienceBase, right? It's an agentic AI platform as well, right? That you can use, right, to generate a manuscript, right? So it is different platforms. It has different options. You have literature review if you want to write a literature review. If you want to write a draft manuscript or a draft chapter, you can do it here. If you want to generate diagrams, you can do it here. Systematic review, search papers, extract, right? So this agentic AI platform, it's very good for writing systematic reviews, right? So I'm going to say, just for the purposes of demonstration, to demonstrate an unethical way of writing a manuscript, right? What most people do and how weak that manuscript will be. I'm going to need to compare it with the cloud manuscript. So I'm going to say, write a systematic review article on news media presentation of women politicians in sub-Sahara Africa, right? Between 2010 and 2026, right? Right. So this is one of the most flawed ways of writing a journal article, and well, said to say most people do that, right? So write a systematic review article on news media framing. Let's say framing, reporting on women politicians in sub-Saharan Africa, right? There's nothing else that I'm bringing into the party. I'm just going to say click here, right? I'm just going to say click, right? I'm just going to say click there, and you'll see, right, what this platform is going to do for us. This is ScienceBase, right? So it's executing a plan for me, right? It's doing the work for me. It's executing a plan for me. I don't know what that plan is, right? Then it comes back with a feedback. It says, I will conduct a comprehensive systematic literature review following Prisma guidelines on use, right? Then it comes back with this. Then it says to me, our news or reporting service. Let me start by creating a detailed plan for this review, right? So this is a plan. Let me begin with the systematic review process. It's following the right plans, right? It says research questions, population interventions, comparison outcomes, right? Taking action, input required. Then I said continue to next step, right? I'm happy with that. It's doing everything for me. I'm not bringing anything to the party, right? Then perfect. The research questions have been approved, but I didn't come with the research questions. It's doing everything for me, right? I didn't bring the research questions. It's going on as though, right, colleagues. Let me finish this. The ScienceBase one, right? While it is cooking, it says, okay, let's move to the next step. I'm just clicking next step, right? So the manuscript from cloud is ready, colleagues, right? There's the manuscript from cloud. It is 21 pages long, right? Let's put it on hold a little bit. We'll come back to it, right? We're gonna compare this manuscript with the one from ScienceBase, right? Where ScienceBase is doing all the work for me. I'm just saying what I'm simply doing is to confirm. Let's go. I want this manuscript. I want to submit it before the end of the day, right? Let's go. Right, I'm rushing. Let's go. Now I'll document the approved research strategy, Right, it's going. I'm just going to click continue, continue, continue until we are done. In the next 10 minutes, all the manuscripts will be there on my desktop. Right. So it might seem as if I've taken this whole session of 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes to develop the manuscript, right? But the manuscript from cloud, it wasn't developed in 1 hour. It took me 3 to 5 days to sit down and work on the background of the work, right? Of the work, right? So here we're executing a systematic across all approved databases, right? At least it's searching literature, right? Setting literature, but while we wait for it, I want it to complete first. Then we'll compare the articles, right? And see, we're going to compare those articles and see which one. So we have 100 papers here that have been identified with this platform, with ScienceSpace. 100 papers that we're going to follow through. Agent is running, combining and training results, news media reporting of women politicians in sub-Saharan Africa. It's pushing, comrades. It's pushing. It's doing the work for me. I didn't bring anything to the party from this beginning. What I did was to bring in the topic. Then here is executing a plan. Then here is conducting a systematic review, right? And here things are cooking for me in the background. Things are cooking. Agent is running, compiling and running results, right? Here, right, we'll come back to it. So we have our manuscripts. Our manuscript, I'm going to download. This is a Word document manuscript. I'm going to download it safely, right? I'm going to download it on my desktop, and I'm going to save it. Then I'm going to open it nicely. We cruise nicely, right? Then this is the manuscript, colleagues. Let's open the manuscript, right? We need to look at the manuscript, and we need to look at it. And yes, this is the manuscript that we have generated from, right? It says contested frames, gender, race, and fractional power in the mediated representation of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. There's my name there, and there is my affiliation. Right, then it says coverage of women who contest senior political office in South Africa has largely been read as a story of bias and symbolic exclusion. This article complicates that consensus through an interpretive single case study of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, combining framing analysis, critical discourse analysis, where the source comes from. 2 mastheads have been done. I want to look. It should show that, right? It says here, gender bias, right? There's the findings. It shows that the same gendered and racialized material was mobilized both to delegitimize Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma in the partisan registers to defend her. Gender media bias is therefore theorized not as a stable property of text, but as a contested discursive what. And there are my keywords, right? And this is my introduction, right? This is my introduction. The first thing that I need to look at before I do anything else is to look at these. Are these citations accurate? Do I know these, right? I can actually edit. I can change the citation approach, right, to make it a PA, right? I can make this a PA, right, like this. I can change it here, make it a PA, change everything, but I know these citations, right? Before I read anything, I'm going through the citations, right? This is my introduction. It's talking about the existing gap, right? And it's talking about the aim of this article is to develop such an account through a theoretically motivated single case of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, right? And these are my questions. 3 questions guide this analysis. Remember the questions I brought to the party, right? Dr. Mtetwa, this comes back now to your questions. So if we remove everything from this article, right? Let's start to delete this article, right? I won't delete the topic, right? I won't delete the context, right? This context will stay. I brought it. I won't delete the methodology. I won't delete the case study, the articles, right? I won't delete the prose or the kind of thinking, the argument, right? Because it's based in literature. It shows that the gender, right? I won't delete the findings, right? Because the findings are coming from the data that I've provided, right? So this abstract stays as it is. You get it? I won't delete the keywords, because these keywords, critical discourse analysis, I came with it. I came with framing theory. I came with gender and politics. I came with intersectionality from my theory. I came with Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. I came with South Africa media, and I came with women politicians. I'm the one who came with all these things, right? I want this introduction is built on my first prompt that I give in the platform, right? I won't delete the aim of the study. The questions, these are my questions. I came with the questions to the party. So I might delete the aim of the study. I might delete the aim of the study, but I won't delete entirely all the aim of the study, because this here on the aim of the study belongs to me, right? The contribution of the study, I won't delete the contribution because I decided what the contribution is. I won't delete how the study is going to be structured, right? Because that's how a Q1 journal is supposed to be structured. I won't delete the literature review in its entirety, because I took the literature review from PubMed, from Consensus and Google Scholar. I said, go and get this literature for me. And this literature is anchored in Muringa 2025, my studies, right? It's anchored in my previous work of study that has been used as an anchor for this article, right? So I won't delete the literature review for you, right? The theoretical framework, I came with the theoretical framework. I came with the two theories. I introduced the theories and how this theory should be used, right? The methodology, the research paradigm is located in the interpretivism. I came about the interpretivism. What I didn't do was to define it and type it and write it. I came with it and how it's supposed to be linked to my study. Then the study context, I decided what the study context was, right? I decided the study context, the sampling and what, the AIOL and the 60 articles. I came up with all those things. The table simply, they're describing the scopus. Remember the scope of my study, the corpus composition. This is my study, 13 units. Remember, we say it describes everything that happened in my methodology, that I had 13, but I had to look for 26 more files. Right, the data source is researcher and design, January 26 to 2027, 27 leadership, everything is included. The data collection process is describing the data collection, the analytical framework, the critical discourse analysis. The analysis has been done, trustworthiness, ethical consideration, then the limitations, then the findings, derivatives, agents, and the proxy frames. Remember, the frames were coming there. Then this is the article that I have. The findings are there. The descriptives, all the findings are coming from the data, right? Let's see if it missed. Then this is my discussion, right? Am I happy with this article, right? I cannot go with this article because I haven't read thoroughly what this article is, right? I need to go through. These are my citations, right? All these citations, we said they must be taken from your PubMed, your Google Scholar and stuff like that. But I need to look and see if these citations are accurate or not, right? Let's go back. So this is our first article that we have, but we're not done yet. Let's go back to the other article, right? That we generated on ScienceSpace, right? Right, ScienceSpace is taking a lot of time, but while we are on ScienceSpace or while we're on that place, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go back to our first prompt, right? Let's go back to our prompt, right? So we're going to the final stage of developing the manuscript using Claude, right? Using Claude. So the stage 4 is the critical review and refinement prompt. This is an adversarial review before submission. We say a first draft, even a strong one, is not submittable. Q1 reviewers would identify weaknesses that the original author missed. This prompt now simulates a hostile but constructive review and produces a refinement plan. It should be applied to every section before submission. So the prompt says now, this is a beautiful prompt and I love this prompt. It says, using the draft from stage 3, conduct a critical peer review in the role of an exacting Q1 journal reviewer. The reviewer's persona, you are a senior scholar with 20 years of Q1 publishing experience in the relevant field. You have rejected more papers than you have accepted. Your task is not to be kind, but to identify every weakness that would prompt a revise and resubmit or reject decision. Review criteria. For each criterion, identify specific weaknesses with exact references to paragraphs or sentences in this draft. Originality and contribution. Questions that you need to ask: is the contribution genuine, novel? Argument: that the section advanced the central argument. Literature review, keywords cited, theoretical rigor, and everything. So here, the required outputs: I want a summary assessment, 1 paragraph judgment frame, is the review recommendation, itemized reviewer comments, refinement plan, specific revisions, constraints: do not be diplomatic. The author has explicitly invited harsh review. The goal is to surface every weakness before a journal review. Why this works: this most underused capability of Claude is adversarial review of its own output. By explicitly invoking a hostile reviewer persona and demanding specific located criticism, you elicit precisely the kind of feedback that strengthens the manuscript from completed draft to submittable articles. The refinement plan organized by priority, right? So we're going to take our prompt. Colleagues, what we are doing here, we are reviewing the manuscript that we have developed. So we're using Cloud again, going back to Cloud, and Cloud must review its own work, right? So we are inviting a reviewer in the form of Cloud, right? So this is a reviewer. We want to review the manuscript we have generated. So we're reviewing this manuscript so that we see it is strong for submission, right? Then here we are still writing the file, right? But while we're still writing the file, I want to introduce you to another capability, another platform. So we're going to come back to this one here, which is ScienceBase. It's still writing the systematic review for us. It's taking time. But while we are there, I want to introduce you to another platform called Jenny AI, right? The reason why I'm introducing Jenny AI is that Jenny AI has a unique capability that most platforms do not have, right? And Jenny AI's capability is in its ability to do what we call confidence claim. So I'm going to take that same article that we have developed. It's in Claude prompts, right? Here, this is our manuscript. We're going to take the same manuscript and I name, okay, this one here is not accepted. If I enter a new name or close the file, that will open. Okay, I'm going to close it first, then we upload it, right? So we're saying here, right, we upload it here. So what I want to do, this platform here called Jenny AI, right, has a good capability, right? And the capability of Jenny AI, it's in here, what we call confidence claim, right? So confidence claim confidence here on the left. If you run a review, it's going to review this article word by word, citation by citations, and it will tell you that this section here, right, it says no issues are found. We didn't find any issues in your document during the review, right? If this article had problems, Gen AI was going to tell you that there is a problem because the claims that are in your article are misaligned with the citation. So you've used a person's name on a different claim. That's what this claim confidence is done. So if I use it on my manuscript, this manuscript here, it tells me that there's no issue in terms of claim confidence. So all the claims that are in this article are true to the sources. So I'm happy. But if I go back again and say, right, run a review, simulate an expert academic reviewer, I'm going to say run a review, right, and see if there are issues with my article. So it says generally analyzing empty input, identifying empty structure, detecting content void, auditing literature, analyzing empty inputs. It's analyzing my paper, right? It's analyzing the same paper I've developed, right? Let's see here what the review has come to. right? While Gen AI is doing its own things, right? It's saying, I'm going to read this article, the cloud output, right? Cloud, it's saying to remember we have the manuscript that we have developed, right? I'm going to open the manuscript again so that we can read side by side the manuscript and what is being reviewed. So this is the peer review, right? This manuscript is a genuinely promising central idea, right? The central, I'm interested to look at the shortfalls. On originality, the contested concept is the manuscript so strong an asset, but the anchor overstates its novelty. The claim that framing theory assumes variance is a property of the frame is a straw man, right? So it's saying my claim is a bit too strong, or it's overemphasized. It's strong, but I'm over ambitious, right? On literary engagement for a paper destined for feminist media studies, the near total absence of African feminist scholars is disqualifying. There is no goal, there's no Disri, there's no Amina. So it's telling me that, you know what? These scholars are needed, right? It says also the South African media political claims rest on two sources, Weatherman and Daniel, the specific contested empirical premise that what, right, is not there, right? Then it says the author cites their work on prior work. It's picked up that I'm citing my own work as the foil, but does not adequately differentiate the present contribution from it, right? So I have a review that I have, right? So what I'm going to do is I have two options as a researcher. I'm going to take this whole review and go down and effect all those changes on my manuscript. Or I can just simply say, update the manuscript and use the reviewer's comments to update it, right? But this is not a good way to approach it, because you are now delegating your engaging with the manuscript to the platform. What I advise normally to do is that you download the manuscript and use this review now, this review to strengthen this paper. Go back and look at it. This is a draft. Now use this review to strengthen your paper, right? As we look at it. So we basically done with manuscript with Cloud AI. Let's go to a systematic review. It's still generating. It's taking time. Let's go to our Jenny AI. It says we didn't find any issues in your document during the current review, right? But see, there is a rescan. Let's rescan, right? We see now that Cloud is giving us a review that is genuine as opposed to Jenny AI, because Cloud is picking up to say, actually, there are issues with your manuscripts, and this is what you need to do. Jenny AI is doing a surface, right? Platform, and one of the reasons is because I'm on a free version, right? Then if you go to systematic review, this platform here is still generating, but because of the sake of time, colleagues, I don't think we're gonna wait for Science Space to complete. I don't think we're gonna wait for Jenny AI to complete the review. What we didn't do today is the Elicit AI will demonstrate in one of the platforms that has come. I think for now, we are done with these platforms, right? What I'm gonna do with my manuscript, I'm going to take my manuscripts, right? The manuscript that I've just downloaded here on Cloud AI, and I'm going to take this review here. I have 20 comments from my reviewer, and I'm going to sit down and now redo my manuscript so that it can meet the specification of my preferred journal platform, which is your feminist media studies. Colleagues, we've reached the end of our demonstration to do today, and we're now opening to questions and comments and see what you colleagues think about what we have done. I'm going to stop sharing my screens and we hear comments, additions, and what a view that you guys, you colleagues might have in this as we transverse and we move towards developing manuscripts using AI. Right, let's hear comments, colleagues, and what you think. I'm going to stop sharing. At least you have a draft. You can work on a draft that can give you some work to do. I'm gonna say here, stop sharing, right? Then I come back to us so that we can have a conversation. Colleagues, what do you think pertaining drawing the line? Do you think I crossed the boundaries of academic integrity? Do you think my prompts, do you think I delegated my intellectual capabilities to AI? Do you think I delegated my judgment? What do you think? Let's hear what you think, colleagues, as we move. So I said, and I always say it, that any output that comes out from these from these platforms should be regarded and should be treated as a draft, not an end in itself, but a means to an end. Right, colleagues, I'm going to open up for questions. I'm going to open up for questions and I'm going to open up for comments so that we can engage. Right, I come and rest my case and let's hear what you guys think. Yes, there is a hand from Matete Walter. Matete, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning to everyone, and we're always grateful for the insightful presentations that you offer. Starting with the Claude, I would want to understand, Doc, that you had collected your data that you have uploaded on the Google Drive. You would have collected your data from credible sources, your PubMed and Google Scholar. Now, for Claude to then say you must verify, it gives me a question of then would those sources that you get, those platforms that you get these sources from, would they publish questionable articles? That is my first question. And then the second one would be, now that the manuscript had been fully developed and you have tables that are generated, recently I have stumbled across some information that in research, when an author uses generated tables, diagrams or figures, they must declare such that it is not generated solely by them. So I'm asking whether that is not an issue that could be picked up in terms of generation of work. Right. The third one, this one comes from my supervisor, that whenever I use in-text referencing that is direct, like in your methodology, when we put, meaning we are taking the information straight from an article, whereby we have to include page numbers. Isn't that an issue that should go as a standard?
All right. Right. Thank you so much. Critical questions there coming from you. So the first one is the issue of verifying, right? So verification, when we using AI, right? It is the fundamental ethical issue, right? It's an ethical issue of whenever you use AI, it is advised that you verify anything that comes out from there. Why? It comes from the premise that the platforms have biases, right? And the platforms have shortfalls, right? If you understand that the text that was being generated by Claude, it is taking it from literature, from previous work, but the process of taking it, it might make errors because this is a mathematical process of numbers of ones and zeros, right? It's a mathematical process and it's a process that is premised on probabilities, right? I think this is the best way to explain it. So output that comes from on this platform, it comes out on probabilities, the most probable answer to what you've asked for. So there's a room for error there. And that room for error is that which you are advised to say, verify. You can verify the whole article and actually realize that there is no error there, right? Or you can verify and have a confidence rate of 99%. One thing that might be a problem is the misplaced of dates on authors. But still verification needs to be done. And verification is the anchor of a human judgment. And when that's where we say, when you declare that you've used AI, you need to confirm that you've verified. If you don't verify, the hallucinations will trip in, because remember, AI works on probabilities, not 100% certainty. You get it? So then when cloud tells you to go and verify this work, it is telling you that the process of coming to this manuscript is based on ones and zeros and probabilities. So it is not 100% probable. It is 99% or 75% confidence level. Therefore, you as your human judgment should come in. But that does not mean human judgment itself is 100%, because before AI would still make mistakes. So the confidence level can never be at 100%. I'll tell you that if you generate a manuscript here without using an AI, you can submit it to one journal, it can be denied. You can submit it to another journal, it can be accepted on the